The first point I would make is I completely agree that it would be desirable to be able to put at rest the minds and concerns of EU nationals in the United Kingdom who are here lawfully and contributing to our country. But I also think it is important to be able to put at rest the concerns and worries of British citizens living elsewhere in the European Union, because after all, the primary duty of the British government is to look out for British citizens. That comes first ahead of all else. And I fear that what the honourable gentleman from the opposition front bench was suggesting was effectively, when he said that if we couldn't reach an early agreement, we should proceed anyway, was that may well put at rest the concerns of EU nationals in Britain, but it seemed to me it was simply throwing overboard the interests and concerns of UK citizens living elsewhere in the European Union. We would not have secured their interests and would have thrown away our ability to do so. The point that I alluded to in my intervention early, which I think is something which has got to be thought about, or we will, if we act hastily, we will come to regret it. There are at the end of March last year, which are the latest figures I've been able to find, there were over 4,222 EU nationals who are currently imprisoned in British jails. Now, under the EU Prisoner Transfer Framework Directive, we have an ability when they come out of prison, or we have the ability to transfer when they're in prison, but when they come out of prison, we can start taking action to revoke their status in the United Kingdom. I want to make sure that in acting now, we don't act hastily and make our ability to remove those people from the United Kingdom more difficult. And I fear that the new clauses and amendments on the order paper that are in front of us today don't adequately, and I think that was reflected by the answer from the shadow spokesman, don't adequately deal with that issue. It seems to me, as a Member of Parliament, I also, having talked to a number of my constituents, it seems to me that this House has spent a lot of time, as is appropriate, debating Brexit and all of the issues that flow from it. My right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, has been here on a number of occasions. My right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, has made a number of statements. And it seems to me ministers actually have furnished the House with a significant amount of information. And in the white paper, which was published last week, which I read very carefully, there was a commitment, a reiteration of the commitment to bring forward the Great Repeal Bill, which will be very wide in scope and will enable Parliament to debate these matters. There was also the suggestion that it's very likely there will be primary legislation brought forward on immigration and customs matters. That, of course, will be debated by the House. And indeed, if I just simply judge my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State, by what they've done so far, it seems to me they've been in this House frequently talking about Brexit. I fear by the end of this process, certainly the general public will, I think, be willing it to end very quickly, and indeed maybe even members of the House.